just because a guest told me, he'd rather have this on the menu, doesn't mean I'm going to like react, because sometimes that's not who I am. And I'm okay not satisfying everyone. You cannot be everything for everyone.
Hey, everybody in the Owwll community. We have another episode here on the Owwll podcast. We have now over 70 episodes. Me and my co-host Elisandra over here. And this is getting fun. We keep on bringing in such amazing people in this world that are really just making impact. And it's awesome. So we're going to get right into it. This is the show that is powered by Celsius Beverage. And we are doing big things on the Owwll app. I'm going to let Elisandra do the honor to welcome our guest.
So we all love to eat here at Owwll.
We love eating.
We love eating.
Too much.
I'm excited to go to Ammar now. Now, after this episode, we have to do a lunch date there. But I'm going to introduce Nicolas Kurban. He is an entrepreneur. He's worked, you can tell them, how long have you're a restaurant owner, how long have you worked in this industry? Food industry?
Well, first, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I would say I've been in this industry all my life. I grew up in the restaurant business. My dad owned restaurants in Lebanon, so I kind of, whether I liked it or not, was involved in it as a young kid. And, you grow that passion. And we've helped him run his restaurant, get involved early, worked hard with him, and kind of learned from him a lot. And then I ended up coming to the U.S., went to Ohio State, studied hospitality management, and, went back home. The intention was always to go back home to Lebanon and run the family business.
People are nice in Ohio, right? My wife's from Ohio. I feel like everyone I meet from Ohio has good gestures, good etiquette.
I love
Must
my
have been a
time.
culture shock, though.
It was a culture shock. It was a shock to come to Ohio State, knowing that I went to the biggest campus in the world. And here I am, not even 18 years old, hardly spoke any English.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you speak English?
I mean, I spoke a little bit. It was my third language, but it was a culture shock. But I had friends, and it was a fun time to be there. I learned a lot. So I've been in this business for a long time. I don't know if I know anything else, but done a lot of stuff. Entrepreneur, working family, then end up transitioning into working for some great companies, great chefs, and then full circle, a few years ago, decided to go back to the entrepreneur, open my own restaurant.
So I guess, what was the transition like? So you go to college, you go back home, you work for the family business, I'm guessing. And then, what was the next step to coming back to the States? And, were you working for a company here, or were you deciding I want to go in the U.S. and open my own place?
Yeah, good question. I mean, my first job, not working for my family, I was 35 years old. So it was definitely a shock, because usually people will start working for companies, they get the experience, and then
they take over.
I kind of did it the opposite way, where I, was always intention, go study, come back, help me run the business, came back to Lebanon, helped my dad grow the restaurant, opened a couple more restaurants when I was not even 25 years old. But then, as everyone knows, the area was a bit troubled. So, my wife was from Ohio and my daughter. So we decided to come back. We felt that there'll be a better future for them here in the U.S. And I made the transition. Now, it was a huge shock, because here I am owning my own business in Lebanon. People know who I was.
Yeah. And I'm sure because of your family, too. It's
And I came back here, and I thought, no one cared who I was. Pretty much. We don't care, So I had to kind of prove myself. I had to really go back and work as a manager and kind of try to make a name of myself while I was in my mid-30s. It was a big shock.
And where in the States were you at that time? In Ohio, or?
No, never went back to Ohio.
Yeah. It's not like the restaurant capital when you think.
No, I mean, I think I came back a little bit in Detroit, a little bit in D.C., but really ended up in Las Vegas. And that really was, I think, a big turning point for my career. Las Vegas at that point, I think it was 2000, 2001, kind of really was up and coming. A lot of celebrity chefs were opening. food and beverage and wine and fine dining became like a staple. Every casino wanted to upstage the other casino. I'll bring Wolfgang Puck, I'll bring Bobby Flay, I'll bring Thomas Keller, I'll bring Alain Ducasse. So everyone wanted to bring more Rio. So I was there at the right time. Worked for a small company and then got recruited by Wolfgang Puck. I had a friend who worked who was the vice president there. And really, that kind of, I kind of proved myself. And within 2 years, I became director of operation for the Wolfgang Puck. And then Thomas Keller decided to open his first restaurant outside Yountville. And I was recruited to open Bouchon in the Venetian. And then I ended up being the director of operation for Thomas Keller, worked in Vegas, worked in New York, worked in Yountville, Napa Valley, helped him run his operation. And then decided to transition into the bigger picture, into the casino business. So I went from, working for restaurants per se, transitioning into becoming director of fine dining for Wynn, vice president for Borgata, and then really took it to another level where my focus wasn't anymore only on restaurant, was running the entire food and beverage department. We're talking here $200-300 million worth of food and beverage in a casino, right?
Well, they get the free drinks too.
20 restaurants,
I'm like, ooh.
nightclub,
all that.
2,000 room service, catering, pool service, cocktail, so it's a big department, 2,000, 3,000 employee report to that department, a lot of moving parts. And I kept on going in that route, and
You're talking to the right audience.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason loves
in
casinos.
Vegas.
That's like when I go on vacation, I
This is going to be a long
to,
episode, I feel.
Yeah, yeah.
I could talk for a long-
Europe
I was just at the Venetian. It was the first time staying there.
I like
stayed
to
at
go in,
I stayed at like half the hotels on the strip. I really enjoyed it. I play a lot of poker. So as a professional in college, I was playing online gambling with the big, poker boom.
Yeah.
And then I started gambling at the Borgata.
Yeah.
And then you start getting free rooms everywhere.
Yeah.
You play in the Caesars network, and the Caesars connected to Vegas. And all of a sudden, I'm getting room offers to Vegas. And then all of a sudden, you play at MGM. And it's like Caesars and MGM own 3/4 of Vegas pretty much.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to say no when there's cheap flights from New York to Vegas for $200-300 and you have free room waiting for you at a 5-star hotel.
Yeah.
But of course, there's issues in Vegas right now. Look at the Fontainebleau, right? Like how much money they're losing. Or Revel opened up an AC, renamed to Oceans. And, I've kind of keep up with a lot of this because I still go to the Borgata in the summertime when I visit family up north. So how do you keep it hot? Right, like you managed, the Wynn, which never really fell off. You did work with Borgata, never fell off, but other casinos do. Right, you see them kind of come and go, or never even figure it out. Like Resorts World right now, it seems like they can't figure it out, and it seems like Fontainebleau's going the same direction. So, how do you keep up with these trends to kind of, just hotels like the Wynn that just don't?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think you have to have an organization that believes in the food and beverage and believes in putting money in food and beverage and bringing the chefs. So that's the first step, right? You can bring someone like Bobby Flay, Wolfgang Puck, Thomas Keller, Michael Mina, Michael Simon. All of them, you can bring them. Pay them money, they will come and create something, But there's two things. First, you have to keep up with the execution, right? I mean, at the end, the name is not enough, okay? So I think what Borgata did or what Wynn did, and were not only they brought the chef, but they actually operate the restaurants. The one of the biggest mistakes a lot of the casino do, or they will bring the chefs and tell the chefs to run it. Okay. And these chefs will have 50 restaurants around the world. Trust me, they're not going to have a focus on your restaurant in Las Vegas when they are in Florida, when they're in Hong Kong, or in New York, because that's not what they do. They can't spend so much time. So to me, it's license the name, bring the expertise, but you as an organization, you bring vice president, that's what I've done, and you bring director of fine dining, and you bring executive and wine sommeliers, and then you run the show. And then you give the chef a little bit of the top line, a little money, and you hold them accountable a little bit on the food, where part of this agreement, you say you have to come 3 times, 4 times a year to work on the menu or whatever it is. But I don't need anything else from you because you cannot run this restaurant from New York or in Las Vegas. So if you look at the Wynn, at the Borgata, or some of the, some MGM, they're putting more focus on this, so they're more relevant. That's one good reason why. The second is you have to, food and beverage is a continuous evolvement. What was happening 10 years ago or 20 years ago is not happening anymore. The food trend has changed. The taste of the now there's a little bit more food, more vegan maybe, more options. The millennials are different. What
I always like small plates. That's
Sharing. You see a lot of, for bigger groups, and you could share a lot of
and I
different
think that's also the
Taos and
variety,
Venetian as an example. Yeah.
So yes, you got to have your steakhouse, you got to have your Italian for sure, but it's not anymore enough, right? Lebanese food is in, Mediterranean food
experience
is
is
very in. The experience is very in. Korean food is in.
social
Asian,
media even.
all that stuff, all that stuff right now that create the success of a restaurant or a hotel or everything. So you have to play in all these fields, whether it's social media, whether it be trendy, change your menu, upgrade, make events. You just can't sit back and say, well, my food is
good
great,
enough.
and where's everyone? Well, it's not enough. If people don't think about you a lot, if you don't have the right PR, the right social media, and one of the things, you become as hot you are today, you become forgotten a year from now. And I think that's important people to know. And that's
Let's talk about the shift, right?
Yeah.
We're locally here in Delray,
Yeah.
right? With the restaurant. It's one thing working for a big corporation, but all of a sudden you go back to your roots, right? A small business, and operates a lot differently. So talk about the restaurant here in Delray and how you really serve your customers in a unique way.
We've opened 3.5 years ago. First we opened during COVID, which was a big risk, and a lot of people start questioning. Like, I remember when I was building this restaurant, a restaurant was closing in Delray, and it's like, like this is this the time? And I thought it was the time.
Florida was the place to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the only place.
So
operate.
a lot of things worked to our advantage. First, we opened something that was unique, so we have no competition on the Ave. To this date, to be honest, we don't have anyone compete with us. So my cuisine is a bit unique. Not that people come to us because they have no other choices, but it's also good to be the only game in town, where when you want Italian, when you want Mexican, you want steakhouse, well, you can choose. There's 10 of them, within a couple blocks. So, you might
used
have.
to be Opa Tavern, which was kind of, they closed down after you guys opened.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we close them down.
Yeah.
I think Oppa was Greek. We're
Yeah, you're
Lebanese. I think it's a
Lebanese.
bit different.
Different, yeah.
Oppa was a little bit more casual,
Yeah.
or more, and they've been there for a long time. I think what we do is a bit different. First, our cuisine is very authentic. We cook and we everything from scratch every morning. We don't buy anything from the outside. So I think that has to do with, when you come and you taste the cuisine, you will tell that everything is fresh. The hummus, the baba ganoush, all that stuff is made fresh. I think what we also created is a bit of consistency. A lot of the restaurants start very well, and they don't do very well after that because they take it for granted. Well, I'm full. Who would notice if my hummus is fresh today? We don't play that game. We're very consistent on our product, where we buy our produce, our meats. So we stay consistent. In addition, that I'm there. Right? I mean, I think that has to do with something. As we expand the concept, and we can talk about the new location, all that, that's where I think that the real test will come. Right? If I'm in my restaurant and my daughter is helping me as well, and pretty good, I'm fortunate enough, 90% of our staff still with me from day one. And that's very unique. I think we treat them as family. We act like a family, and they haven't left us. So. Consistency, people come back, not only they recognize me at the door, my daughter, but they also recognize a lot of the servers have been the same. They see the chef. I think that means a lot, right? A lot of the problem is sometimes you go to a restaurant and you feel like you're a VIP and you go there every week only to be welcomed by a hostess who doesn't know who you are just because she just started. And suddenly it's like you're no one, you're nobody. It's like, well, I'm Jason. I've been here at least 5 times this month, and yet no one is taken to recognize you, to welcome you, to seat you on your preferred table. I think that's a lot.
So can we talk to that for a moment? Because that's one of the most important things in business. Yes. Often when we interview a lot of business owners, they just can't scale because they just always have the excuse they can't find the right people, right? And the right people cost too much money. So, it's just kind of a continuous circle, right? But it comes back to the leader. Like, what is the leader doing that they have figured it out and you have? So can you just speak to what are the things that you're doing on a regular basis to keep the retention? Because, when you look at in a corporate environment, like if you worked for Microsoft, it's easier to keep people because people are making very high salaries. You have rich benefits, and they're kind of handcuffed to these larger corporations. With restaurants, right, the turnover is typically way higher, right? You have people visit Florida for a year and then say, I don't like it. I'm going to LA. I'm going to New York, right? And they come down, and a lot of times it's a certain portions of the business. It's tips or it's lower wages, right? So then how do you handle that? And there's got to be tricks that you're doing and tips to our audience that they could take from this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's tricks. I think, look, we have a small restaurant, so it's a bit of a bit easier, I would say. So I'm not gonna lie to you and say that, it's easy running a restaurant, easy maintaining. It's probably today the biggest challenge for any restaurant or hospitality to retain employees, just because first there's more demand than supply. Perfect, right? There's more restaurants opening, and there's more people who need chefs and cooks and servers and bartenders then there's supply. So it's a market where, hey, if I'm not happy there, I have no problem leaving you tomorrow and find another job next door. Like, I'm not going to be out of a job, especially nowadays, this new generation. In my generation, I will never leave a job before I have another job. Today, this new generation, because I know from my daughters, not that they'll leave that job, it's like, I can care less. I can take off for 2 weeks. I don't care. I will leave. Like, their principle is like, I'm not happy. I'm going to leave, So you have to navigate that. Saying that, the restaurant is busy. So they are making money. That's for sure. All right. So no servers are in love with me just because, they want to work for me. They are making money. And part of the success of the restaurant is keep them busy and navigate the schedule. I think one of those is being also flexible with their lives. Okay. You cannot anymore say, if someone comes and apply, I usually ask them what days you can work so I can work with you. Okay. There's no more, you have to work Monday to Friday and you have to work this. No one's going to do that. So instead of kind of trying to tell them what to do, try to work through their schedule. I'd rather have 10 people who work part-time than 4 people who full-time, right? So if so-and-so can work Monday and Tuesday but cannot work on Friday and Saturday, it's fine. Other people can work Friday and Saturday. So we used to be very limited thinking. It's like more an ego. What do you mean? No, I need you Friday and Saturday because that's the business. Yes, I'm busy Friday and Saturday, but not necessarily during the busy season, November to April, my Mondays and Tuesdays are as busy as Friday and Saturday. So it's not a weekend business in Delray anymore. Similar in Vegas. You've been to a restaurant in Vegas on a Monday, Tuesday, if there's a convention, busier than Friday and Saturday. So it's not a weekend business anymore. Good restaurants are busy 7 days.
Plus corporate events down here.
Exactly.
There could be like we were at TEDx Delray, you're right, and it's a weekday usually, and then all of a sudden hundreds of people roll out and they go to our local restaurant, and before you know it, you're very busy.
So flexibility, understanding where they come from. You have single moms who have kids. Some people say I cannot get to work till I open at 5 and I need everyone to be there at 3:30 to prep. But some people cannot be there 4:30. Okay. Is it a big deal? Probably not. I can work with you. Come at 4:30. You might have to stay later, So if you want to make it happen, you'll be creative to make it happen. And I think that's probably what we do well, or what I've done well in this economy since COVID. You adapt to what's out there and you make it work.
And tell us about the future. Right, you've been doing this over 3 years, and you said that you have something on the horizon.
So look, I mean, Ammar, when we opened, it was very apparent that from really the first 3 to 6 months, we knew that we had a winner on our hand. People loved it. The place was busy, packed every day, and really it became kind of like a little gem, in Delray. So it was a matter of time to see if we can grow. I tried to grow, we almost opened a location in Boca. I've always had West Palm Beach, but for personal reasons, we don't have to go into it, it kind of delayed a bit the growth. But now I'm very happy to announce that a location actually around the corner from our location became available. We just bought it a month ago.
Nice.
So Ammar, sometime by end of summer, We're going to move to a 4,200 square foot location. So now we're talking going from 50 seat to 180 seat, full liquor license, full bar, indoor, outdoor. So everything that actually we were lacking, kind of first, we're limited space.
Yep.
We're beer and wine. We didn't have a bar. We didn't have cocktails. Couldn't do happy hour per se. A lot of people,
music.
live music, entertainment, private parties. We have a lot of demand for private parties. Offsite catering is a big kitchen now. So this is very exciting. So we're already starting the design of the restaurant. And sometime I will say by September, we should move to the new location. And really we'll take Ammar to another level. It'll be a legit restaurant. Size-wise, the offering will extend, the menu will evolve. Now we all open dinner only, so we're probably going to open lunch and brunch. So more work for me and for the staff, but that's exciting. That's kind of really an organic way that every, I think, little company dream of. And what's good about it, it's right around the corner. Like we're not moving to another city or another street.
You probably won't lose people.
We won't lose people. We'll add it. And then the other good news is, obviously I'm a restaurant guy. So it just happened I'm Lebanese and I open Lebanese restaurant. Doesn't mean that that's the only thing I need I know how to do.
I was going to ask
you asked me that question. Based on my experience, actually that's the first Lebanese restaurant I opened. I've done, working for the Four Seasons, for Kimpton, for Borgata, for Wynn. I've opened every concept you can think of, from Italian to Asian, to steakhouses, to Mexican. So I can do any concept because it's a restaurant way of doing business. So I'm gonna turn that little. So Ammar used to be pizzeria, and it had a wood burning oven. So when I took it and got it out, I left the wood burning oven because I do the pita right now from the wood burning oven. It comes right fresh to the table. So it's kind of only natural to come back to that concept. We're going to redesign the restaurant a little bit, and we're going to keep that wood burning oven, which is amazing, and we're going to turn it into a artisan pizzeria, very high-end pizzeria. We're not going to be an Italian restaurant. We're not trying to compete with all the Italians. There's enough Italian restaurants.
Yeah.
But we are really going to be known for the best pizza in town.
Oh, I love it. I love pizza.
High ingredients, potentially sourdough base, and little probably appetizer, great small.
Will it be like a restaurant or more of like a to-go?
No, it'll be a restaurant.
Okay.
It'll be a restaurant. I mean, of course, we'll do to-go. We do to-go a lot right now.
Yeah.
30% of my business is delivery at Ammar. So that business will stay strong. I think nowadays any restaurant that doesn't really focus on that is missing on a lot, especially with the pizza. Even though the high-end pizza, like an artisan pizzeria, Neapolitan pizza or sourdough, doesn't travel very well, to be honest. But I think we can make it happen, and there's enough people living there very close by that might wanna, So, but it's a I say fine dining. It's
like
sit-down restaurant.
Pizza.
It's going to be beautiful, cozy, 46-seat restaurant. The wood-burning oven's right there. You'll see the chef making the pizza. And then a great eclectic wine list, that will complement, obviously, the pizzeria.
Vegan pizza at all?
Yeah, the vegan, of course.
Yay.
All my daughters are vegan.
I don't do dairy, so I'm always like, I want a vegan pizza.
So we'll do a vegan pizza. We'll see about gluten-free. Well, we'll play in all light.
Put some vodka sauce on a slice of pizza. No one does that down here. I love, up in New York, in Jersey, you saw vodka sauce on a lot of slices, and people love
He's like, no, we're not.
He's like, no, we're sticking to the base.
I'm not saying no. I don't.
Vodka sauce is classy.
We are playing with. We are working on the menu. I would never say no. I never thought of putting vodka, but hey, you never know. Everything is possible.
Well, New York, we saw everything. New York and Jersey had the best pizza, right? So many shops.
Yeah.
Really, put a lot on pizza: shrimp, chicken parm, barbecue, and I fell in love with pizza just growing up on Long Island, and then living in New York City. There was everything under the sun, of course.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I haven't been to like a high-end pizza place before. So that's like not just, I mean, there are other pizza places in Delray, but not like a nicer, almost fine dining atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, it will be focused on pizza.
Yeah.
I think that you'll go there because you're really craving a pizza, a great pizza, great ingredients. wood burning, kind of coming oven. So, there's some good pizzas in the array, but I don't think that anyone focuses only on pizza. It's like in
No,
Italian,
yeah.
it's like Italian, and they serve
It's more like
pizza.
to go too. Like,
So yeah, I think we'll do something a bit special, and hopefully that concept work. We want to grow with that concept. I'm a big fan of pizza concept, and
nice.
hopefully we'll take it also to
Exciting.
Burrata. I just had a pizza with burrata on it, and it was amazing.
like-
I'm craving it right now as we're talking about
I know,
pizza.
I'm like,
No one puts burrata on
I want
pizzas
the
that often.
thin
Just
crust.
burrata and sauce.
That's exciting.
yeah. So a lot of exciting things happening, a lot of things. So, but yeah, by the end of summer, I think sometime by September, October, hopefully both places will be operational, and people coming back to the array for the season, they're gonna get some surprises from us. So on both sides.
When
I'm
you
going to
say,
show our audience everything, so I'm gonna go head over to your profile.
when you say you want to expand, are you saying like just expand in Florida or all over the country?
Well, I don't know about all over the country. I mean, look, my ambitions are very high,
Yeah.
but I'm also realistic. I'm not very young, and I think time is. I'll be happy. Look, Florida is big,
Yeah.
and I think that if we can have 3, 4, 5 of these pizzeria, in South Florida
Yeah.
or even West, and a couple more Ammars, I'll be content.
Yeah.
Like, restaurant business is hard,
Yeah.
right? You can grow and you can bring people in and you can delegate, but maybe in the past, if I didn't spend last 15 years working for companies and executive, which I loved because I traveled the world and lived in different countries. But it'd be easier to do it, maybe when you're in your 30s or 40s. Now, I think that the focus will be, take it day by day, I would say. Definitely we would like to do, 3, 4 pizzerias, maybe one a year if that's successful, and potentially do another 1 or 2 Ammar, depending on the location, Restaurants are tough to, I mean, labor is a problem, obviously, and funding is a problem. Restaurants don't come easy, this is not, especially the way I do it or the way it's done right.
Fresh ingredients.
I don't just take restaurant, just paint the walls anymore. We take restaurant, we revamp them, we put our concept, our vibe into them. It costs a lot of money to do that.
Can you speak to our audience about just the differences in the corporate environment versus being a business owner for a moment, right? Because you held some top positions in Las Vegas and Atlantic City, and it's nice to have a salary, right? It's also not nice.
Yeah.
In the event, you get laid off during COVID, right? When things shut down, all the casinos were shut down. So can you just speak to our audience for a moment, just sharing like the pros and cons of each? Because there's a lot of people within our Owwll community that are on the fence, right? They typically work 9 to 5s, and they're working as a solo entrepreneur. About 80% of our app users currently are solo entrepreneurs, but a lot of them, are 9 to 5ers and trying to grow, that side hustle to one day do it full time. But I think it's important for people to see the kind of the differences, what you gave up in the past, and just the pros and cons at each side.
Oof. Do you have another hour for that? I loved my corporate career, not because I was working for people, but in my particular is I worked for an amazing companies and in amazing cities. When I was in Las Vegas, Wynn was the top, and working with Thomas Keller and Wolfgang Puck. So I was running the best restaurants F&B program.
Yeah.
So it was always at a very high level. Similar with Borgata, similar with Four Seasons. I was the corporate vice
Four
president
Seasons
for
is
Four Seasons. In APAC, I lived in Singapore, and I did all the project for Four Seasons in Asia Pacific, China, Japan, Southeast Asia, India, you name them. So the development part of it, look, pros, you have a salary, you don't have to worry about it. You have your bonuses, you travel, there's all this benefit, you don't have to worry about it. And you play with other people's money. So when I want to design and open a $5 million restaurant or $8 million restaurant, it wasn't a problem. I didn't need, technically, I was responsible for a budget, but the budget was big. It
Out
was
of your own
about,
pocket.
pocket. You got to do it. So you're working with the best restaurant designers of the world. We're talking David Rockwell, Tony Chi, of Rocco. So you'd love to go to the meeting. You'd love to see the opening of a restaurant. You also have the luxury to hire people, great minds, that you can bring them from all over. So when I was in China, we'll bring people from Dubai, we'll bring people from France, we'll bring pastry chefs from Switzerland. Money wasn't a problem. So, but you're still working for people. So look, I could have continued my career path and I would not have any regrets because I really learned a lot and I worked with some amazing people and most of them are still my friends, But being an entrepreneur is a different, ball game, I would say. There's no room for mistakes when you're an entrepreneur, and everything comes on your head. I slept very good when I was working for people. I don't sleep very good anymore, just because it's not about being stressed, is about worrying. You feel you're responsible for a lot of people. Okay, everyone, the success right now, I feel like Ammar has to succeed, has to grow because I have to make sure that my employees are taken care of, and I have to provide them a way to grow with me, including my family. So and then your funding, right, is limited. So you learn to do more with less, right? And you end up taking on different hats as well, where today, to this date, I'm still kind of the accountant, I'm still kind of, I do have a marketing company, I do have a PR, but I'm the one kind of navigating this. And
you have to become a generalist versus a specialist. Right? And people don't speak to that enough. It's like you are a specialist in a corporation because there's 1,000 employees, and often people don't realize, like, when you're an entrepreneur, like, you could be a specialist at a certain thing at the restaurant, but all of a sudden you got to be an accountant, right? You have to know your numbers. You have to be a leader. Yep. You have to just know the right things on the food. Right? You have to look at every element, like, all times.
And then you have to make sure that you are on the floor. Like, at this point, I couldn't afford a general manager. I have a couple of managers, but it's not easy. Like, you have to worry about paying yourself first, right? And you have to make sure that you have to pay the rent. So if you have to work 6 days, and when we opened, I don't think I took a day off probably till after 12 months. It was me working there. If I wasn't there, the restaurant would not function. Not because I'm micromanaged, it's because there was no one else. Like, I couldn't trust anyone to understand what I want to get there. Now it's different.
Yeah.
Now, there are people. I'm not there obviously right now, so there's someone there. Hopefully, he's doing a good job. But there are, and that's great. So it takes time. It takes patience. It takes hard work. But I guarantee you, being an entrepreneur is the toughest job in the world. Okay, and you can't tell me I'm an executive and running $1 billion company. Okay, that's different than being an entrepreneur. You could fail as an entrepreneur, as much as I felt or people know, and a lot of people do it both ways. I know people who left their corporate jobs, and opened their own restaurant, and they failed. And it's like, how can you fail? You know so much about the restaurant. How many chefs, they were not, who are amazing chefs and worked for Thomas Keller or Wolfgang Puck or worked for this big organization, only decided to open their own restaurant and they failed as well, even though they know how to cook.
And that's interesting, right?
It's different because it's a different sacrifice, it's a different commitment, it's a different level of stress, and not many people can deal with that stress. You have to have a different.
Look at Google reviews is a great example. Like, you're in the upper floors. I checked it out.
Yeah.
But like the stress of, like, someone came to your restaurant and, wrote something, and here you're the owner. Like, why would they list that? It could have been like somebody called in and was put on hold for 2 minutes, and they got frustrated and left you a negative review. I'm just using that as an example. And you're sitting here like, really? You're going to bash my business over something, something simple? But that's the world we live in today. And when you work for that brand, you're like, whatever. You're not even thinking about the reviews. When you're the owner, you can't sleep at night. You're just thinking that review is just spinning and spinning. But that goes over and over. We have your Instagram account on. It's like, it's like the orange seats. It's the cups. It's the plates. It's like every dollar spent, really goes through your mind when you're working in a corporate environment. You're like, okay, I like those. Let's buy those. You're not thinking one's $1 more. right? And, going down to like the presentation of the food, how it's served, right? You talked about the oven and how you love that it comes out fresh, immediately. And how when someone grabs it, it's just like, it just melts in their mouth, right? So I understand as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
That's no different than this podcast studio, right? Like the television, like everything put in a certain position, right? It matters when you have to make everything work with a certain amount of funding.
Yeah.
Because most entrepreneurs don't have unlimited funding, especially in the restaurant business. Margins,
Yeah.
we all know are thinner.
And as an entrepreneur, there's really no going back. What I mean by that, you could have a corporate job, and you don't like it, you can make a move, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, whatever. You can't change your mind, you're an entrepreneur. To trust me, I woke up many nights and it's like, oh my God, I wish I was still with Four Seasons, in the Maldives right now, like whatever. That's it. You commit and you have to stick with it. You have to be patient. You're going to doubt yourself many times. There was times where I doubted myself, whether I should do this, whether I can grow, should I not worry about it. But then, then you go out, then you come at night and you see the restaurant being packed and you see all these people leaving, and then you go back, it's like, oh my God, I did the right thing. Like that satisfaction by seeing your guests happy, seeing a restaurant increasing revenue and every day busier and busier and busier, it keeps you motivated, and we live for that.
Isn't it crazy? It's like the ups and downs.
The ups and downs. Yeah.
Like you could talk to me on a Monday and I'm like, I'm just not in it.
Yeah.
Right. You talk to me on a Thursday or Friday and I'm like, I'm on the right end of that roller coaster. I'm like, this is amazing. I love everything. And what we are doing now is we're looking at different experts that are on the Owwll app. And what Ellie's going to do is she's going to pick one and we're going to call them live into this show.
Okay.
And that's what's really unique about this podcast. It's kind of like the old radio days, right? They would call in, but in this case, let's get her on.
So he went live, and within like a minute, she called him earlier.
Let's do it.
So I want to call her back because was wanting to talk to you.
Hey, Gina Brown, how are you doing? You're live on the Owwll podcast.
Earlier, this is Ellie, by the way. Hi.
Hi, Ellie.
So you called Nicholas, and I ignored your call because I was showing him how to use Owwll. I guess it was about an hour ago. So he is actually our podcast guest today. So I'm assuming you maybe got to look at his profile. I'm not sure if you did, to know what he does. He's worked in the restaurant business for many years, very high stress corporate environments, casinos all over the world. He now owns his own restaurant in Florida. So do you have any questions for him?
A question for him would be, what's the drive of staying in the service industry for food and restaurant?
I love that question.
Yeah.
Because it's a hard industry.
What's the drive? Well, I think we mentioned this a bit, is in my particular situation, that's all I've done during my life. So I'm used to it. Like I don't see myself doing anything else. So I grew up with it. I like the ups and downs. I like the stride, and I think this is one of those industry that is always changing. And every day is different. So the idea that you always have to keep up with the trend, the idea is you always have to work on your menus and change the menus. The idea is you can always find a new concept or a new restaurant and design it. Part of, I was in operation for a long time, which means running the restaurant. But then when I worked for Four Seasons, I became more in the development side, which means creating concept, designing the restaurant. And that really is an amazing part. Like right now, I wake up in the morning and I'm like texting my designer at 7 a.m. in the morning. It's like, shit, like she's still asleep. I'm telling her, sending her Pinterest, what do you think of this? What do you think of this chair? So I think the excitement of creating something new and seeing that kind of evolve from day one on paper, and then it becomes reality, and then you start seeing the restaurant being painted and the flooring, and then you start hiring the people, and then you get to a point where it's like a show, it's like a movie. You open the curtains and boom, the restaurant is there and everyone's coming and then so the satisfaction of seeing your hard work kind of paying off I think it's kind of a I don't know, I want to say a drug here. It's kind of an addiction.
It's addicting.
It's
It is an
addicting,
addiction.
you know.
Being in the entertainment industry,
Yeah.
there's a lot of similarities and parallels.
Yeah.
Another quick question is, how do you know when to make those changes? What are indicators like, we need to plan something else because this isn't working or
Well,
whatever?
I mean, so two things. First, the a lot of the restaurant businesses, sometime mom and pop restaurants. You know, I come from corporate world, so I know that the analysis and the accounting part of it has to be hand in hand with the great food and service. So what difference is a lot of mom and pop operations, they don't evolve because they don't look at the books and they don't look at their sales mix and menu mix, and they say, well, my food is great and I know I'm this is same pizza I'm serving, so why people, you know? So you have to really evaluate your business like everything else. Like you can evaluate your life and evaluate your business, say, what am I doing right, doing wrong? So first of all, the restaurant gets beat up. Okay, a busy restaurant gets beat up. So if you think that the same chairs and the same bathrooms and the same oven would last forever, you might be. A lot of people think that they can save money. At the end, they don't save money because you know things will break down in the middle of the shift, and then now suddenly you cannot do something. Your AC break down. So you have to keep maintaining it, and you have to put back the money. So don't take all the profit out, okay? You can definitely get distribution. And if you made $100,000 this year, whatever it is, don't take it all and say, oh my God, I made 100,000. Take 70, take 75, leave 25% in the business and use this to reinvest in your business. That will give you the longevity to be, for now, whether you invest in your menus, in your kitchen equipment, in repainting your restaurant, you know, maybe training, you know, maybe bring, you know, some more training into, you know, maybe, you know, even use that money to maybe give raises, I would say, or bonuses, because that also will motivate your team to stay with you longer, right? It's very hard for a chef that other than him making a good salary, I think giving him a bonus at the end of the year, it will make him think twice about leaving you, I would say. Not that because of the money, but I think it's an appreciation as well. Like, okay, my boss values me. He understands that I worked very hard. So I think you just have to play that game and be very conscious of that. Otherwise, you know, that whole success short term will not last. I don't think it will last long term.
Have you ever shifted too early?
Huh?
Have you ever shifted too early? Like you saw an indicator and you went the wrong direction where like the data coming in was good.
Yeah.
And almost like you had this like hunch. You see a lot of entrepreneurs do this. They're like, oh, I think, you know, this is going to be better, you know, to try something out in a business. And then it actually backfires, right? The financials come in, which are the data indicators. Right, and you're like, ooh, made a mistake here.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, I don't think every decision I made was right, you know, but I think that I don't know. I feel like I have enough experience to be patient sometime with the data, and then if I make the wrong decision, which I've done before, I will not admit it, but I've done it before. Is you also have to be smart enough as an entrepreneur to realize that and switch back.
Yeah.
And some people get so stuck with their decision.
Ego.
And the ego is like, oh, no, I cannot be wrong, you know. So sometimes, you know, you have to take a step back and say, okay, that was the wrong decision. Maybe I took something off the menu that you know, was labor intensive, but it was very popular, you know. And then when one guest, two guests, three guests ask about it, why it's not there, I think it's an indicator that maybe it was popular and, you know, similar with that. So I think it's, again, sitting down and important is listen to your guest.
The customers.
So you listen to two people important, is your guest and your staff. If you ignore both of them, I think it's a recipe for disaster. Doesn't mean that you have to please everyone. You know, I don't, just because a guest told me, you know, he'd rather have this on the menu, doesn't mean I'm going to like react, because sometimes that's not who I am. And I'm okay not satisfying everyone. You cannot be everything for everyone, right? So, but in the same time, there's some indicator coming from the guest, especially, I would say, not a new guest, repeat guests, guests that comes and love my brand and my restaurant. And if they say, hey, Nicholas, we've been coming here for 3 years. The last 2 visits, you were not on point. Whether that particular dish wasn't great or that serving great, if you kind of disregard them, that's a problem because that guest cares. He showed me that he cares, and he'd been coming here for the last 3 years consistently once a month or once every 2 months. So if he's going to say something, it's because he cares. Different than a guest who might come once,
time.
and it's like, well, why don't you have this on the menu? And I was in Lebanon and Dubai. It's like, well, okay, go
People
back.
just like
no,
complaining.
yeah.
Fine, go back to Dubai. Like, I'm not interested to have everything on the menu.
Yeah.
I want to do what I want to do. Tell me if what you taste is great. That's all I'm interested. Don't tell me what I don't have on the menu because I can't have everything on the menu. My kitchen cannot handle. You don't know my infrastructure, all that stuff. So,
Cool.
Thanks, Nicholas. Much success, continued
you.
success, and keep feeding us.
Yeah.
We need restaurants.
Thank
Come on down to South Florida. We'll all join together. Okay, Gina?
I'm going to hold you to that. I'll be there.
Deal. Okay. What should we leave her? Should we leave her a 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5-star review? What do you think,
Oh,
Nicholas?
5-star for sure.
Okay. Gina's getting 5-star.
We surprised her with a call. And
Great.
she answered. And
Great
she
questions.
she was great.
And that's the power of the Owwll app. You can instantly connect with folks like Gina. Here's who you just spoke with right here.
Yeah.
Wellness mentor, mind, body, and soul, virtual art therapy, visual artist, author, podcast host, producer, and actor. So here we go. Ready? You met her. Now you go on her podcast. And that's the chain reaction and the ripple impact of platforms like Owwll. It's a tool, right?
Amazing.
If you want to go in here and connect with her, you could instantly chat with her for $2. And then we got Ron Taro, who's up there. He was actually one of my mentors at the FEU Tech Runway. He's president of New World Angels. So how hard is it to get in touch with a guy like that, right? And he's putting himself available for $10 for 10 minutes, worth every penny because time is so sensitive for so many executives, as you know, right? And Owwll gives you access at a reasonable price to connect and just chat and connect. You just don't know where conversations will go. So it's a little tour of the Owwll app, and look at all these people on calls right now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
to
Orly
see.
called us earlier. She's one of our big ambassadors, and I had to hang up on her too. You
That's
do a very good job. She'll call you
It's
later.
okay. But the power of Owwll is sometimes people forget is just the side things that could happen to benefit your business. So many times people say, "Oh, I'm in the restaurant business, not for me." I'm like, "Well, you need marketing, right?" So you get on podcasts that could be local, like Owwll's, right, and get more media attention to your brand and get more foot traffic through the brand, or potentially
Even virtual, and then they're visiting Florida on vacation, and they're like, "Oh, he was on the podcast. Like, I want to go there when I visit," or they tell their friends, So
or other restaurant owners. Like we've had Kapow Noodle Bar, for example, on the show, and he runs Subculture Group. And you could just connect and be like, what's working for you? What's working for us? And just connect with
Great
like-minded
brand as well.
professionals that are in similar boats, of course, or someone like Danny, who's on a call right now, who does more in the corporate environment. And then all of a sudden he's like, hey, my next corporate event, I'd like to do it, at your location. So when people start seeing like the bigger vision of Owwll, it really comes alive. And of course, you're a go-getter, so you're going to absolutely enjoy the platform. So everybody listening, he will be live on Owwll the next 7 days. We're featuring him as an expert. Just go check it out on our Instagram account and then follow him within the app so you get that notification when he makes himself available. So, Ellie, this is your favorite segment of the show. Why don't you tell our guests
He'll get it.
what is
Being
about
a
to come?
Casino man here.
Yeah, the big gamble.
So, yeah, we do a bet at the end of every show.
Okay.
So, which we don't really tell our guests about. It's a surprise. A little wager. So basically we ask you to do something. If you complete it, then you complete the task that we ask of you, you get something from us. If you don't do it, we get something from you.
Okay.
So let's see. What do we want? Do you have any ideas before I decide?
Well, of course, it has to be something about
Using the
a
app.
group team outing at his restaurant. That's
Well, yeah, I know what we want.
That's
but
part one of the bet.
No, but what do we want him?
Dinner.
Actually, no, I have an idea. So how about what we would ask from you is to get within this week, so by next Wednesday, you know a lot. You don't have a lot of time, but you know a lot of people. You have employees. So I would say see if you could get 5 downloads for the app.
Oh, announce it. Yeah.
So-
you have
so-
group meetings, so that would make sense.
So like you could share, hey guys, with your staff meeting, like get on this app. We'll send you a link that you'll have a special referral code.
I'll show it right now. So inside the menu, every person has invite friends, get $10. You just hit the copy link. And of course, you just share it on an email to all your employees,
or whoever. It doesn't have to
text
be
them, be
employees.
like, hey,
It could
download
be
this app. It's pretty
your
cool.
children, if they're looking for anyone like who that likes to network. So,
So you said 5?
yeah, I would say
That's easy. I have 4 daughters here. That's already 4.
yeah, exactly.
You'd be surprised. They'll go to the app store, but then they click download and then actually sign up, right? Because so many people, when it comes to mobile platforms, we live in a TikTok environment, right? It's next video. And once they see like name, email, they're like, oh, I have to add that. And then they quit,
I got you.
right? Surprisingly, like 99% of apps fail.
So we're going to ask you to do that. So if you get these 5 downloads within the week, so you then would get something from us. So
That's the gamble. Anything on your mind.
So it could be, okay, what can he get?
That's up to him. He's got to think about it. We can't give him the ideas.
Well,
What are we getting? Let's do our end. If he fails,
Okay, well, if you
he
fail,
fails,
then we get a free meal.
we get a team outing.
your restaurant.
Our group right here.
Okay.
3 of us. And I would like a tasting. One of my negatives, with restaurants, I just always want a tasting because I always go to the restaurants and then I always get like the 4 items out of the 30, 40 on the menu. And I'm always like, I want to try everything, but I always stay in my zone because I know what I like and I always get frustrated. That's why I think I like a lot of places that Ellie was mentioning is like where you go with a group and you do a lot of tastings. And those are always fun. So I'd like a little bit of a tasting.
Okay, so
that's what I want.
So if he loses, is that okay with you? That's what we get?
Okay.
So then if he wins, okay, what can he get from us?
You win, you get Ellie to sing at the restaurant. There you go. She'll bring her tribe for free.
Yeah,
She'll waive her.
Sure, why not?
She will waive her costs.
I'll bring my people.
I'm selling Ellie.
Bring your people. All right. So what kind of singer are you?
A lot of people that dine there would know the songs that I would be playing. So it could be like a different,
It might be good. Like you will come and you'll sing one night and you also have dinner. So you both would be happy this way.
Okay, it's a deal. Shake on it.
There you go.
right.
Shake on it. There we go. We got a deal. Okay, everybody listening, thanks for joining us today. And of course, if you want to connect with Nicolas, just go right to his profile right here. And then all you got to do is click the follow button right here and make sure you receive that notification when he makes himself available.
And
He's a
for now
dollar.
it's $1 a minute. I mean, that's not going to
So
say
$1 for 10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
Crazy? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look and
So
just,
that's not going to be.
we're going to do it right now. Request to go live. See, I'm requesting you. You'll get a text message,
my
an email.
Yeah,
That's
so
the power of the platform. Once you get to 10 calls, then you could raise your price up. But
I'm fine. I'm
we
happy.
keep it low because it's about just learning the platform and connecting. And the second people jump their price up early on, we found that people missed the idea and the concept that they thought it was about making money on the calls. It's making relationships from the calls and the bigger opportunities. So that's why we do the $1 for the first
We'll donate the money for sure. It's not about the money. It's
Absolutely. Okay, well, thanks everybody for listening. Take care.
Post-production for the Owwll podcast is done with care by Ocean Tree Creative.